Alright, and I'll get this going. And welcome back to another episode of Kult, Divinity Lost, the campaign Trapped Within. I'm your GM, Matihi, of course. And tonight we are joined with only Rogue playing Daniel. And of course, due to some of the themes that are explored within this particular campaign and Cult itself, viewer discretion is advised and would not suggest it for the weak of heart or anyone who has any issues stomaching certain, I would say, content. But on to the actual episode. Daniel, after you had taken out your assailants in fairly brutal ways, each now lying dead on the ground, the sirens of incoming emergency vehicles pierce your ears. The swirls of red and blue lights come into view as they scream around the tight downtown corner. The vehicle pulls to a quick stop in front of one of the corpses. Headlights flood the darkened streets. Dust particles shine over the now still body of the dark-haired man who attacked you. His eyes stare up to the heavens, now blind to what's around him. Two shadowed officers come out of either side of the cruiser brandishing their weapons. "Get on the ground!" A gruff masculine voice yells to you. As you get on your knees, he comes up quickly and roughly shoves your face into the ground. You feel rocks push and indent your face as he places a knee on your back. The sound of handcuffs unlocking behind you is soon followed by a tightness around your wrists. The cuffs are secure tightly, too tightly, you think. You're roughly hauled to your feet and forced to march towards the police cruiser. He shoves your face into the hood of the car and begins to pat you down. You realize that you're still in front of your house. Your head turns towards the doors of your apartment. There you see Faith in the arms of Kensley, the sister to your editor. Faith has tears in her eyes, and you see she's mouthing something, but you can't hear what she's saying over the sirens. As you see your daughter standing there yelling towards you, but you're unable to do anything, I want you to make me a keep it together check. Oh my goodness. So describe how you are able to kind of keep it together as your face is pushed down onto this cold roof of this cruiser as you just see your daughter yelling for you. You assume, anyway.
First, he wants to panic and, and freak out and fight with the cops. At first, he's just filled with anxiety and blood still pumping through him. All the adrenaline from the fight and the combat before. But something about seeing her face calms him, and he just lays his head against the car and manages to smile towards her. Mouths "I love you" towards her. As he looks back towards the police officer. "I'm a victim here. This isn't my fault."
Yeah, you can tell us down at the station. Looks like a fucking bloodbath here.
"They killed my dog."
Just he kind of leans down towards you. "I don't give a shit about your dog. There's 3 dead men here." And he kind of rustles around in your pockets and he pulls out your wallet. And pulls it up and Mr. Whiting.
Yeah, that's me. I'm a taxpayer. I'm an innocent victim.
He hauls you up after he finishes patting you down, and he brings you to the back of the police cruiser. And as he's pushing you inside, your head bangs roughly against the top of the door frame. And the officer grunts as he bends your neck to shove you inside. The door to the back slams shut. The officer handling you gets into the driver's seat. Passenger door opens and another officer gets in. You watch from the window as Faith is dragged back inside by the babysitter. She looks to be screaming something towards you. And inside the actual police car itself, you can hear sirens, more sirens in the distance as they start approaching. But this car in particular starts to take off slowly, calmly from the scene. The lights dim as it rounds the corner and they start driving. The officer in the passenger seat, you're sitting directly behind them, so you can't see their face at all. You can kind of feel there's kind of a grate, almost a cage between you and the front. And you can see the other officer that had manhandled you and put you into the car. And he sits in the front, driving. And he kind of glances back to you occasionally as he drives. So, Mr. Whiting, you say you're a taxpayer and you're a victim. Well, why don't you start explaining exactly what happened?
I was out walking my dog when these fucking meth heads attacked me. I just got that dog for my daughter. I don't know what they wanted.
Why don't you make me an influence others check with your new charisma that you've acquired?
Just sneak it in there. Let's see. Influence others. Here we go.
Ooh.
Oh, God.
That's pretty brutal. So he continues to glance back at you. So you say you just got this dog for your daughter and just walking outside, huh? Why would 3 meth addicts be outside your place? Why would they accost you?
I don't know. You have to ask them. Or I guess you can't.
No, I can. You see anything else there besides 3 dead ones, or were they just standing around apparently waiting for you?
Thinks for a minute as trying to remember the scene and what happened, and he remembers the van and the door closing. Does he remember any details about the van, like maybe colors or
It was kind of this
tack?
dark maroon color. Why don't you give me a I guess it would be kind of a post, but it would be a observe a situation, just to see if you remember what was what's going on. It might be the hunter.
An hunter?
Maybe. Let's see. I just gotta remember what that does. Unless it says if I click it. Hey. Oh. That's more of an ambush thing. Never mind. It would just be observe a situation.
Okay. Well.
So I'd say with that you can remember the plates at least. Or at least part of the plates there. It was like YMVK or the first part of it.
I saw a maroon van. Guy was trying to push me towards it, trying to take me into the van, and I got partial plates on it. The plate number that he remembers, and then he says they wanted to fucking kidnap me. I don't know who these guys were. I don't know what they were doing outside, but and then he killed my dog, and that just wasn't fucking cool, man.
You see Officer glances very quickly over to his partner, and it's fairly dim light in this part of San Francisco. You're kind of going through some of the back streets. There's not a lot of traffic out tonight. It's not a lot of people. And you actually hear kind of rain start to hit against the windows, top of the cruiser, and you see it going down the windshields as he turns on the windshield wipers. He says, "Hey man, do you mind running the plates?" You just hear you assume it's a nod. By the way, the other officer nods himself, continues driving, glances back to you. "So, you something special there, Mr. Whiting? Someone would want to kidnap you? Got any enemies in town?"
I don't know about anything special. I'm a writer. I don't know about any enemies.
Think they might
I was ex-military.
Maybe someone you wronged there while you were over in, where the fuck you were. But hey, I ain't judging, ex-military too, so.
How? Were you in the military?
Yeah, I was, in the Navy, actually.
Daniel smiles a little bit and gives a little sigh, and hopefully that little thing will help him out, just knowing that. And he says, "Yeah, I was in the Army, Rangers. I was over in Afghanistan."
Oh, damn, man. Must have been, pretty tough. And as he's, kind of chatting over towards you, he says, "Hey, Tillman, you have a..." And he seems to look over towards the passenger, and he looks confused. You see kind of this growing surprise on his face. He says, What the fuck? What did you do with..." And then all of a sudden you hear a bang. And you see the lower jaw of Officer Jackson just kind of swing on his hinges as some of the blood comes through the back of the grate that's in front of you, flicking onto your face. Luckily, the car was stopped at the time. Gonna stop at the stoplight. There's only this red illuminating inside the car. And peeking around the corner, who is in the passenger seat, you see a very familiar, stretched smile. "Hello, Daniel."
Daniel's eyes widen. He turns and, "What the hell?"
the person kind of grabs over towards Jackson, and you can hear that he's struggling to breathe, and that he's like putting his hands up towards his face to feel around, and the one with a stretched smile kind of grabs at the jaw. You see, with the muscles that are just barely hanging on to the rest of the facial structure. They take out what looks like a switch knife, and they start to slowly cut away at these tendons that are holding his jaw onto his face. And you just hear this gurgled scream coming from the officer. And I want you to make me a keep it together check, and you do have a -1 for your current mental state. Oh boy. Hmm. That's a good question. I would say that what would Daniel be feeling right now seeing this? Being handcuffed in the back of a vehicle and just watching as you can hear the glee and kind of almost this childlike laughter coming from this one person who's slowly cutting away at just the tendons in the officer's mouth as he gurgles and screams.
I don't think he's thinking as much worried about the officer, of course. Just the fear that, he was found so easily, or they have so much control, that they can find him so easily. And so he's like in the back, screaming. He starts to kick on the back. Oh, fuck, come on, and starts kicking at the window and trying to get out.
So you start kicking at the window and just trying to shatter it, and you're kind of bouncing back from the window. I'm gonna say that you will I'm gonna say that this is kind of just the realization how close they are and how easy it was. I'd say it's a bit of a life-changing trauma. So now you're at unhinged.
Nice.
So you have a -2 to keep it together checks and a -2 to disadvantage rolls.
Yeah, so he's like screaming wildly and kicking in the back and just freaking out.
The cultist, he takes Jackson's foot off the brake and puts it directly onto the gas, just holding it there as he cuts away at his face. And every time that Jackson attempts to kind of grab for the wheel or move his leg, he just slaps his hands away. He doesn't slap them, he actually stabs into the palm of them and kind of rips the knife out. He screams, and the cultist looks back to you, Daniel, not driving the car at all, as it's just going full throttle down the street. And he looks back to you. Do you want to be able to meet who your wife decided to leave? I think you do.
He hears the voice now, and tries to calm down a bit. And he says, "Yes, take me there. Don't fucking watch out. Watch where you're driving. Jesus Christ."
He cackles away, and I want you to make me a very quick act under pressure roll as you're kicking at the window. I just want to see if you have any negatives to that. You don't. I'd say you have a -1 just because you're handcuffed. But make me an act under pressure roll. Ooh. Alright. You're able to kick out the window and shatter it. And this kind of momentarily distracts the cultist. And he takes the wheel and he kind of swerves it to the left. And you look forward and you see the car just careening into oncoming traffic. And before you can do anything else, as you get closer and closer to the car, as you reach almost impact, your vision turns black, fades out. Now, just give me one moment. As you awaken, vision comes through. You look down, you realize you're unharmed. You don't have the cuffs on you any longer. You seem to be sitting on a wooden stool in this room. As you look around, there's different scones that are lit with fire, braziers that are lit also. And as you look around the room itself, there are numerous torture implements that sit around, from Iron Maiden to grinders to large chains and stretchers. There's pretty much everything a torturer's heart would desire. How are you feeling as you wake up here?
I think at first Daniel starts looking around and realizing that he's still alive, and or perhaps alive, and seeing this place, he nods, looking down at the floor after looking at all the torture devices, kind of feels like this is his punishment for what he's done in the past.
And do you pick up anything, or do you just continue to sit there? You're not trapped. You're not tied. You have free movement in here. You can get up from your seat.
Oh, once he realizes that he can move, he is going to get up and immediately look for some type of weapon or something he could defend himself with. Some kind of hook or a gaff, maybe.
You're able to find kind of a long hook, and as you pick it up, you see the end is rusted. There seems to be these brownish flakes that still remain, and you assume just by the way they flake off when you touch it, it's not rust, but it's old blood.
And he looks at the blood and runs a finger across the blade, and then he remembers he had his book on him. He's gonna see if it's still on him anywhere.
Ooh, that's a good question. Why? I thought you left it in the drawer at your home. Or did you? No, you put it in your satchel, didn't you? To
Yeah, I
take
think he
with
brought it with
you.
him.
Let's see if you did bring it with you. Actually, you know what? Yes. On the table sits your satchel. You can see that it's open, but the book is kind of peeking out from it.
Yeah, he starts to look around cautiously and then grabs the book, pulls it out,
So you go for the
looks over the
book.
cover for a minute.
Yeah, you look over the cover, but you start hearing what sounds like footsteps from heels start to come closer and closer. And you see there's like this large iron door that remains at the southern end of this room. It sounds like they're coming from behind that door.
He's gonna take the satchel and throw it on him. He stuffed the book in his back pocket, or under his belt if he could.
You shove the book kind of down the back of your pants, and the door opens. And you see what you think is a woman. Well, as far as you understand, she's just a feminine figure, but you see that she has almost this kind of upside down star that remains secured to the back of her head. Her cheeks and skin on her forehead are pulled back, all to attach to this iron star that remains kind of encrusted on the back of her skull. She's bald, and her face is almost in this permanent smile as she comes inside. You see there's these spikes that remain jutting downwards inside her breasts, through her arms. And you see there's these spikes that are interlaced, chains that are interwoven to her legs. She doesn't seem to have any problem walking, though most of the equipment does seem very heavy and laborious. And she comes in. She gently shuts the door behind her. You hear her, she breathes. It seems like she breathes through her teeth. She looks to you. Daniel Oiding. It's good to see you again.
Again? Do I know you?
I knew your wife. I knew your son. I saw pictures of you. Heard of stories of you. Before she left. Before she took him.
Daniel narrows his eyes and question forming on his face. Who the hell are you?
They call me Desrin Ida.
Oh,
She gestures around. This is my particular chamber. I hope you enjoy it. From what I've heard, I assume you do.
and he looks at the tools and stuff on the tables and can you have here? Did did you send those men after me? The ones in the van?
Those ones. They're not directly from me, no. I did not send them to you. You see, she talks. She doesn't move her teeth when she talks at all. It's all through, it's very painfully just gritted teeth. As you see what's left of her lips, as they kind of form out different vowels and sounds as she speaks.
Are we in? He looks around for a minute, thinking of the right words to use. We in my world now? Or
No.
is this...
This is different, Daniel. Here, time flows slightly differently to your Elysium. Here, time can be what I want it to be. And right now it's still before the moment of impact for you.
His eyes widen at that. He thinks about it. I'm about to die.
Not necessarily, Daniel. I think that you can easily survive this ordeal. That you were fast enough to get out of the car before they took you and careened you into an oncoming vehicle. But first, I'd like you to indulge me and indulge yourself, as I can feel there's something inside you that craves a sort of violence that you don't get normally. Isn't that why you took those men out so swiftly, Daniel?
Looks at the ground for a minute and thinks about it. Looks at the hook in his hand. He nods, looking back up to her stretched flesh. Says, yeah, I guess I kind of do.
Good. Good. She chuckles. She makes her way from the door, and she seems to go towards the back of this room. And there's this kind of a hand crank that's there, and she grabs onto it. She slowly starts to crank it, and you hear this creaking of chains as the floorboards here, the stone kind of pulls to the side, and you see a platform start to rise from the bottom. And seems to be a naked man who is he seems to be kind of tied with rope. Seems to be very wet, almost like he's been soaking in something for quite a long time. You can see some of his limbs are a bit gangrenous at this point. You can see necrosis start to set into different places, into his thighs, into the side of his hip, even into his cheek. And he looks to be shivering and shaking as he's finally brought up, and there's this click as finally settles up onto this platform. And she gestures to him. This is your first plaything. Do what you will, and remember to enjoy yourself, Daniel.
Thinks about it for a moment, and he's not sure if it's right or not, if this is some kind of test, and he starts to approach the guy with the hook still in his hand. What did he do wrong?
And Desvanida, she passes you by. She looks down at you, and there's just this horrendous smell of rotten death as you get very close to her, almost making you gag and throw up. She leans close to you. You can ask him yourself, but there's a bell near the door. Ring it when you want the next one. Feel free to take as much time as you need. You have as much time as you want here. She stands back up to her full height and slowly, languidly makes her way to the door, puts her hands against it, and she shoves it open with takes a bit, almost like it's stuck. She opens it, and then behind her she closes it with a hard thud. The man sits there, naked, tied, and shaking, and he looks up to you as you approach. Please, I'm already in pain. I'll do whatever you want, man. Just whatever you want.
He watches him beg for a minute, and he's heard it many times before. Most of the ones that he interrogated. And he looks at the hook for a minute and back at the shivering man. What did you do? What did you do wrong?
I didn't do anything wrong, man. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm just like you. I'm assuming you got a family, right? I've got a family. I've got a wife, and I've got a baby. We just had a baby. Please, man, just don't kill me. Just let me go.
Daniel says, he rubs his thumb across the hook for a moment and says, "Where are we at? How did you get here?"
I don't know how I got here. I was leaving the hospital. My wife, she just had a little girl, and it's her first kid. I was heading back to get some of the. We weren't really prepared, so I was getting her iPod so she could listen to more music, and I was heading back in my car, and there's this guy who was like panhandling outside of outside of the gas station, and then I told him to go to fuck off because he kept bugging me, and then I turned around, went back to the car, and I woke up here.
As he starts to talk, Daniel thinks for a minute and he remembers the book again. He's going to pull the book out and start to look at it if he can.
So, the Book of Molguth, and as you open the book, you see small spiders crawl out of the spine, skitter up your arms. Their legs are unnervingly weighty as they hurry up your forearms towards your shoulders. And those that make it past any initial brushing off with your hand crawl up to your neck and to your ears, one going inside each canal. You can hear the scurrying of their 8 legs as they crawl in deeper and deeper, settling in next to your eardrum. What sounds like as quiet whispers and a language unknown to you sound in your head. Multiple female voices softly chittering away. I want you to make me a keep it together check. I might accidentally fuck you up with this. But, you have negatives out the ass. So you have -2 to this.
Oh, God.
Oh. Oh, no. I have to look something up. Because you've hit broken. Let's see. First character. I've got to search for that. I think. Stability. Let's see. Effects.
What was the spider girl's name?
Molguth. So it's the same as the book. But her pseudonym is Miss Rio. I'm gonna see if I can find this. You have to give me one moment because I have to figure it out. Oh, it's in chapter 2, I think.
He's just gonna be so fucked up.
Yeah, once I can figure out where this part is. Oh, unique moves, maybe. This is it. It's so hard to find this. I wish it would just give me a page.
Oh, yeah.
Frustrating. Sorry, everybody. We're taking a brief 5 minutes while I attempt to find this friggin' part of the book.
Yeah. So, yeah, Daniel, once he opened the book, he was listening to the man speak for a moment, but, you know, as the guy was speaking, he started to think about the book, and he was like, oh, this could be my chance. Maybe I could use it somehow to contact her, Molguth, or maybe talk to her for a minute and call for help or something. And he opens the book, and as the spiders start to crawl on him, trying to knock them off, he drops the gaff hook and trying to get the spiders off of him, and they make it into his ear, and he drops to his knees. Pain, I guess, as they crawl into his ears. And he starts to cover his ears and hold his head, almost scream.
And try to dig them out, and all you can get as you're just cramming your fingers into your ears, it just starts to get blood that comes out at this point, but you still hear the skittering, you still hear the chittering as it feels like they're scratching almost against your eardrum, and it's like this constant pulse that's now in your ear. It's just there, almost like a heartbeat. You just feel the pressure as they push inwards.
Then starts to pray to Mulguth to help him. Saying, please, please, please. Mulguth. Miss Rhea, whatever the fuck you're called.
For now, you don't get an answer, as I'm still attempting to find where the fuck it is. Because it doesn't actually say. Sorry.
Try to look into. It's the
Oh, it's book 3. I'm an idiot. I think it might be in Madness. I think this is when the illusion crumbles. If I'm correct. Oh.
find it.
Maybe. We're gonna go with this. So, as just a scratching, and you're just begging for Mulguth to come and help you, to come and find you. You hear that voice coming from like inside your head. You hear it sounds like her. Daniel, what do you need?
And he's in pain and holding his head, rolling around on the ground, and he says, Mulguth, I opened the book. It's spiders. Ears.
Oh, they were meant to help you. You're experiencing pain.
I'm trapped. Some world. Desrin. Does his name mean anything to you?
Desmond Eater.
Yes, that's it.
Servant of Golab. You must get out of there, Daniel. You must leave. Don't indulge.
He's just shaking and looks towards the hook and his hands twitching, and he looks towards the man begging. How the hell do I get out of here?
He points over to where the hand crank is with both his hands. Maybe if you unbind my hands, I can grab it and I can bring you down there. I don't know what exactly is down there, but maybe.
He struggles to get up and make his way over there towards him. And he has to unbind his hands. We have to get out of here.
He nods and he rises to his feet. He's still very injured, but he's limping, moving as much as he can. Do you attempt to go downwards, or do you attempt to go for the door?
Did you say the door? Sorry.
So there's the iron door, and then there's also the hand crank that leads downwards, but that's where he came from.
And the iron door is where she went through?
Mm-hmm.
There's a bell over there?
There's a bell, yeah.
That I could... It's finished. And those are the only two exits, huh?
Yeah.
Down doesn't seem good either. He says, "What's down there? Is that where you came from? What's down there?"
I don't know. It's just darkness down there. That's all there was. It's just darkness. I think there might be other people down there. I don't know if there's some sort of exit. I've been tied up. But we're free now. Maybe there's something. Maybe.
Starts to look around and gonna pick the hook back up. If that's the best weapon he thinks he can find. And he has his gun. Does he still have his gun?
It was taken away.
And he says, "Let's go."
You do remember that you do have the book, and there are things in the book as well. Rituals.
Yeah, he doesn't want to leave the book there.
Okay.
He'll pick that up and he'll flip through them and see if he can find anything.
He flips the pages, and you do find one that looks like it's I think it's some sort of travel, almost like a travel gate that you could make. Problem is, you need blood. You need a sacrifice.
As he looks over the pages and kind of frantically, he looks up to that guy standing there, and then back down to the pages. He needs to prepare anything else before he sacrifices him.
So you see that what you need to make sure you do is you have a human sacrifice. It needs to be alive when the ritual is taking place, but their body parts, their legs and their arms, their genitals have to be scattered at different points of ritual circle while maintaining them being alive. You do know there's braziers there and fire. You could probably, what you figure, is cut off his limbs and cauterize them if you want.
Oh, he's definitely gonna have to do this. He's going to try to trick the guy, I guess, and he'll point down to where where he's going to pretend to go with him. He says, "Is that the way to get out of here?"
Yeah,
And wait till he kind of turns.
he turns and looks down. Yeah, I think so.
And he's gonna use that moment to attack him and try to subdue him in a headlock type of, to knock him unconscious if he can.
Make me an engage in combat check. So you do this with a +1. If you want to use your martial arts expert.
Yeah.
Alright. What? Oh, it's double plus, that's why. 5, so it's 13, so it's 14.
Okay.
Yeah, so you get 1 edge. So I'd say you could probably throw him on the ground and then kind of choke him out if you want. But you still would have to make an engage in combat check.
Okay. Yeah, he tries to grab a hold of him, but the guy frantically moves, and he ends up taking him and slamming him instead, and then tries to wrap him up again. Like, I'm sorry.
What are you doing?
And no plus on this one, or is it still +1?
I'd say you get a +1 for this. So
Sorry.
you're able to put him kind of in a chokehold and grab him, and he's struggling against you, but he's just too wounded from before. And as you slowly choke him out, as he's hitting against your arm over and over again, the slaps start to get lighter as he passes out into your arms.
He quickly drags him to a spot where there's enough light, and frantically looking at the book, at the ritual, he's going to look for a blade so he can start to saw the man's parts off, kind of next to the fire, so he can use it to cauterize the wounds as best as possible.
So you see there's a rusted saw that's in the corner. You think it's going to take quite a few cuts to get these limbs off, and he would wake up in the meantime. There is an axe as well, very large, almost an executioner style axe that remains there. You have to pick it up with both your hands.
Oh man.
Depends how brutal you want to be. There are chains that you can strap him down with, so it doesn't move.
I'll have to do that first. I'm kind of worried too. Is this considered indulging as I'm trying to escape? Oh,
Baby.
he's going to chain him first, and to try and get away from causing him much pain. he's trying not to indulge in this at all, just kind of using it as an escape. He'll probably go to the axe, something that gets it done fast. Something large with a sharp enough blade where he can try to go through with one hack and then cauterize the wound. But he'll look around for something to kind of stuff in the guy's mouth after he chains him up.
Able to find scraps of fabric just to shove into his mouth, and able to find the axe. It seems sharp, as far as you can tell by running your finger over it. Maybe a little bit of blood comes up from it, a little bead. And he's chained down to the floor, and I'm assuming kind of ahead of time you could have easily painted the floor with kind of the symbol beneath him, so it's easy just to scatter the remains and perform the spell.
Yeah, and he shoves a probably dirty, bloody, ripped cloth into his mouth, and he kind of whispers to him once more, I'm sorry about this, man, but I gotta get home to my daughter and my son. As he grabs the axe.
You grab the axe and you see he's slowly starting to wake up, and as he looks up at you, he looks up with wide eyes. You see him pulling the chains there, and he's shaking his head no as he tries to scream through the cloth.
He's like, this is the only way out, as he brings the axe down.
I want you to make me a engage in combat check to see how clean you can do this.
Ooh.
Actually,
modifier?
it would be act under pressure. Make me an act under pressure roll. No modifier. This is quite a bit. I'm gonna say you hit his arm. It only goes about halfway through one side, so the upper half is still there, and he's just screaming in pain. And there's just something about the way that he's writhing about on the ground, absolutely helpless, that you're getting this sick sense of pleasure from. You're greatly enjoying.
Oh my god. He can't stop now.
You could. It's up to you. But you like it.
As he hits his arm, he starts to look at it, and the guy screaming and everything, writhing around, just changes to kind of worry and pity almost, to or kind of a grin out of the side of his mouth, and like, look, I gotta get out of here. You do the same thing. You do the same thing.
Tries to scream and he cries. You can see tears running down his face as he continues to pull his still intact limbs against the chains.
Tries to hack his arm off. Tries to be clean.
You're able to, with the second swing, to finally get it dismembered, and there's this, as you get it off, there's almost this smell of just putrid flesh kind of emanates from the wound. You see it was a bit gangrenous up there, like there was only a matter of time before it was going to fall off anyway. This is, again, just the way he's writhing about on the ground is almost pleasurable to watch. Just how helpless, desperate he is.
And you'll take the possibly the embers or maybe a chunk of a log from the burning. Did you say there were braziers? Or?
Yeah. So you're able to find like an iron poker almost, put in the fire and press it against the wound.
And he makes sure to dip his hand in the guy's blood before poker and burning it, trying to cauterize the wound and make sure he touches up the symbol a little bit more.
You're able to touch up the symbol, and there's still 4 things that remain to be cut off.
That's the other arm, leg, and groin.
Mm-hmm.
Testicles.
I might have to cut it off individually. I mean, Daniel might love it.
I am. He probably takes a different item. Probably not the big axe for that one, but he'll finish with the axe first. And
all right, I want you to make me another
the...
act under pressure roll. Actually, I want you to make me keep it together check. This is gonna be for something. It's a bit different.
Yeah.
But make me keep it together check again with just the. I just want to check here. The negatives. -2 right now.
-2.
Okay. So I would still say it's not. There's just the way he's kind of screaming as you can move his arms, his legs. And he's kind of just this naked torso right now. Sex organ's still intact for now, and he's rolling a little bit. He doesn't seem to have too much energy left, as most of the blood is drained out of him. He's still alive, and he looks up to you almost pathetically, and there's no remorse that you feel at this point. It's more almost disgust, and there's kind of this emptiness, like you've been enjoying yourself through this more and more as he just screams, and as the screams are dying down, it's becoming more pathetic. There's almost a sense of loss that you're not gonna have him to play with anymore after this.
And he starts to maybe become obsessed with it.
I think we might be changing one of your disadvantages to obsessed.
Oh no.
Maybe take out your haunted and change it over.
Yeah. Making him even more of a psychopath.
Yep. It's perfect.
And he's he like looks at the blood on his hand for a minute and just wonders what it would taste like, and licks it off of his fingers.
There's
looking back at the guy.
It's a kind of an irony taste to it, but it's, to you, besides the slight hint of like iron, there's almost a sweetness to it, and you feel just this domineering power that you've felt before when you choke those women. It's almost the same feeling. It's almost this kind of sexual gratification that you're getting out of it. You can see there's just tears in his eyes as he's just very weakly shaking his head towards you.
He looks at him and says, you would have done the same to me, man. Kind of a carelessness in his voice now. There's no guilt at all. And yeah. Does he have another arm to do?
No, you've got all the arms and legs off. All that's left is, you know.
As he's getting this sexual satisfaction. First time he's ever felt this from a man. So, I guess it's perfect timing. And, he's gonna look for a blade and something more, something that he can handle, a smaller item easier.
You find it's almost a small curved blade. You take a look at it and you assume they've maybe used it for castrations on to make basically eunuchs.
He kind of twirls the blade in his hand for a minute to measure the weight as he walks over to the guy, and he looks at the book and he's like, I want to get this part right. He's like, I gotta go though. I gotta go. There's not much time left. And kind of doesn't believe that it's coming out of his mouth. That stick around and play with the guy more, but he remembers the words she spoke, Mulguth, about trying not to indulge, and he's like, yeah, I gotta get out of here. Sorry, there's no more time to play.
You do remember that she did say there's more. Besides him.
Oh, down there. He looks over towards that pit and can he resist it?
This is, if you want to roll, you can, but this is completely up to you.
Yeah, he's gonna go.
Okay.
He's gotta get back. He doesn't want to get stuck here.
Yeah,
he
desire comes
he looks
then.
Yeah. Yeah, he walks over and he looks at the pit for a minute and contemplates it for a second, but if he thinks if he lets this guy bleed out, then the time will escape him and he can't get back to his son and daughter, so he turns with the blade and does the deed. Tries to move it swiftly and as possible.
You're fairly merciful when it comes to this, but again, he lets out one final shriek as you dismember him, and pressing the poker against the wound, searing the flesh, is but a castrated torso now. And that's all he is. He very weakly lays there and crying and just in this insufferable pain. You have everything kind of laid out in the proper order as you look back to the page of the book, your hands still covered in blood. And as you touch the book, some of the blood gets onto the pages. And you can actually see it actually seeps into the pages themselves. One of the fingerprints you make in blood, it just gets absorbed by the page.
He smiles as the blood goes into the page, and kind of a delighted curiosity. He looks towards the body. Are there any words I have to say in here?
You look over, and they're phonetic. Kind of, I haven't written down any words, but if you have anything to come up with, but it kind of lists out what you have to say, placing your hands on either side where the legs are, and chanting these 3 times, and pretty much trying to imagine where you want to go at this point.
Yeah, it's probably kind of like a was that the old angelic language? Probably hard syllables. He says the words, and Da Zun Ra, and closes his eyes and starts to imagine being back outside of his house under that street light again.
As you chant over and over again, trying to imagine yourself back towards your home. Give me one moment. You kind of feel this heat open up beneath you, and there's this agonizing scream, as it seems like almost these blackened webs start to form underneath you, spreading out, and then from every corner of the circle itself, these long dark spider legs come up from the ground, and there's approximately 5 of them from each point. They each stab into the man's torso, causing him to be unable to struggle, unable to scream. He continues to scream anyway. They slowly start to pull him apart, each leg bringing him closer towards their own self, and until he's fully just torn asunder, you can hear him. It's a high-pitched scream. Before almost the webs start to form over you, laying over your legs first, and your hands start to engulf you. You look towards the door, and you see open there is Desrin Ida. As the webs start to engulf you, she doesn't quickly, but just in a nonchalant way, walks over to you. She places a hand on your shoulder, and she kind of leans down as the webs engulf your cheeks and go over your head. Thanks for the ride. And soon the webs fully engulf your face, and there's just darkness. And when you awaken, you're outside this place, showing you the inside. You awaken laying down on the ground, taking a deep breath. You look up and you look around. You're lying on the ground outside of your home. You look down to your phone and you see that the time itself is actually, you think, slightly before when you got home. You look over to your left and you hear this barking. You see running up to you is Mr. Biggs. He seems very excited to see you and kind of jumps into your arms as you're sitting on the ground.
Daniel starts to laugh. And how are you here? What's... And he starts to look around on the street.
As you look on the
and
street,
looks for a van.
you actually see a van that's just pulling up now. And just pulls up into the same spot that the other maroon van was before. And you see the three men slowly start to get out of the vehicle. They seem to be conversing with one another and pushing at each other. What do you do as you see this? They seem to be alive and well.
Daniel's gonna take the dog inside, and he's like looking around too as he's trying to back away and see if he can see Desrin. Any sign of her?
You look around, but you don't see any sign of her at all. You head inside the apartment?
Yeah, he's gonna head inside and kind of quickly as possible and call out to Faith and lock the door behind him.
Faith immediately comes running up, and she sees the dog and her eyes go wide. She looks to you with a big smile. Did you get us a dog?
I got a dog for you.
She gasps and she starts to cry. You see Mr. Biggs wiggling in your arms. He's trying to go towards her.
Yeah, and he'll let Mr. Biggs go, and look around for Kinsley.
She comes around the corner and she's finishing drying up a cup. And she gives you a smile. Oh, hi. Didn't expect you to bring a dog home, but good to see you, Mr. Whiting. I should have asked when you were going to get home in the first place, but I must say Faith was an absolute treat to babysit.
I'm so sorry it took so long.
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
And he remembers something for a moment, and then he kind of panics for a minute and looks down at his clothes and his hands and stuff to see if he's got blood on him still.
Look down on your clothes and you see you're just absolutely covered in blood. You look to Mr. Biggs, and so is he, and he's just spreading it all over Faith. But none of them seem to notice this. You see Kensley lean down and pet the dog, and she's getting blood on her hands. But they're just acting like everything's fine.
And his heart starts to beat faster as he tries to keep, and he kind of licks his lips and just gotta go to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
You head into the bathroom. I'm guessing you're cleaning off your hands.
And he's like trying to scrub the blood off and frantically trying to clean up.
As you are cleaning up, you wash your hands, and as you're lathering them with soap, your hands just can never seem to get clean. Every time you look down at them, there's just more and more blood. And the water seems to run clean. As you keep rubbing your hands together, it just seems like it's soaking up from your skin. You look in the mirror, and your entire face just seems spotted, just matted with blood. And as you continue to stare in the mirror, you see a very familiar face show itself to you from behind. She seems to she hooks both of her fingers into the sides of your mouth. She starts to pull back the skin. You can see beneath your own skin. Kind of looks like just writhing around almost spiders that now are just underneath than your cheeks. And in a blink, it's gone. Your hands are clean. Your face is fine. No skin's torn back. It's back to normal.
He tries to catch his breath. He turns around frantically and looking around the room and sits in there for some time, trying to compose himself and rubbing his hands through his hair. And
You hear knocking the door.
Dad, are you in there?
just finishing up. Do you like Mr. Biggs?
I like Mr. a lot. I'm gonna call him Mr.
I bet you he'll like that.
She says,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go play, okay?
Daniel opens up the door and says, Kinsley, what do I owe you?
Oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I was doing a favor for my sister anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you know any other like babysitters, I'd be looking for one full time. You know, if you know anybody that's looking for a job, I guess.
Oh, well, she kind of scratches the side of her cheek. I mean, I could, if you need kind of a babysitter or someone to take care of the house or anything like that, I'm available. I mean, it's better than what I do now.
Really? Yeah, that would be excellent.
She smiles and
Um,
nods to you. Do you want me to come tomorrow or any other time? Just let me know. Give me a phone call.
Yeah, I'll give you a call.
She smiles and kind of takes her purse up into her hands and rubs Faith on the head. And Faith, she smiles and gives Kinsley a wave.
Bye, Kenzie. I'll see you later.
Kinsley departs from the house, and Mr. Biggs, he gives out his like little wheezy, not quite a cough that he has. And Faith giggles and grabs him underneath forearms, hugging him, and brings him onto the couch and takes a seat.
And
Go ahead.
Daniel smiles and he waves to Mrs. Kinsley. Let me walk you out.
Oh.
And he at least walks to the door to watch her go to a car and just watches her and makes sure she's okay.
You watch her go towards a car and get inside, and you hear very faintly to your left, almost kind of far away down one of the alleys. You still see the van there, but you hear what sounds like a little bit of a scuffle, and you kind of hear very similar wording as they seem to be speaking to someone else, telling them to get in the van. It's fairly far away from you.
His face kind of just goes blank for a minute as he stares off in that direction, thinking about it, like kind of the realization setting in. And he shakes his head. And he reaches, still on him.
And sorry, repeat that last part.
He reaches to see if the book is still on him. The Book of Molgus.
You find the book. It is still on you.
He's gonna keep it safe in his satchel and make sure it's secured, and closes the door, looking over to Faith. He's like, I think Mr. Biggs is gonna be happy here, huh?
I think so too, Dad.
She.
Or wait, what did you call him?
Mister.
Oh, you're gonna call him Mister?
Yes.
He laughs and he says, it's kind of a forced laugh with all the craziness that's going on tonight. And he's like, I bet you like that. I'm just gonna. Yeah, are you hungry? Are you okay? Did Kinsley take care of you?
I could always use ice cream.
Get you some ice cream then.
Does you head into the kitchen to grab Faith some ice cream to settle down for the night. The screen fades to black, and that's the end of this episode.